Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of GYATE Podcast, where we cultivate Black and Brown culture. Today, once again, I'm joined by my lovely counterparts, Mr. Josh.
What's going on?
Miss Samantha.
Hey.
And today, we're going to talk about mental health in the Black communities. So the first question I'm going to hit up with you.
Yes.
All right, so I want to know, what are some stigmas that you think we face in the Black and Brown communities when it comes to mental health?
Okay, so I think there's a spectrum. I think it stems from, our ancestors and healing. I think that we weren't taught how to heal. I feel like we were often given religious means to kind of overcome our feelings and not deal with the problems we had. And then I think it also led into people expecting Black and Brown to be strong. Like, they don't expect you to have mental health. They expect if you go through something, you're supposed to get over it because you're strong. This is what you emanate. You emanate strong energy. So I think that even as far as men and females involved in the Black and Brown community, I think it's so much like our emotional state doesn't matter. And I think that it's very unfortunate because, we do experience so many emotions, but it's just not validated. They don't accept it. And you guys are men, so it's like, how do you guys experience the stigmas, like, of having the profile, the ideal characteristic of being strong, no matter what you go through?
You go ahead, bro.
I think Sam, you hit that nail on the head. Basically, I think that being, at least in our culture, our elders are looking at us to hold a certain standard when it comes to keeping our emotions together.
Yeah.
They don't want us to be too emotional. They don't want us to be too shut out. But it's like, at the end of the day, it is basically being shut out because we're not really in touch with ourselves.
Yeah.
Because the emotions that we identify, we have to kind of like acknowledge and say, all right, I can't show this because it's going to be weakness.
Yeah.
Labeled as like soft or something like that.
Basically. And that's just in our communities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like outside the communities, it's not, I feel like it's more so a forgotten thing where it's like, all right, well, if it depends the angle you're looking at. So if it's just like, let's say someone out of the Black community, let's throw it out there. Let's say it's someone that's racist. They won't even look at us as equals or humans. So why would they look at us as someone that has emotions?
Yeah.
And then if it's someone that does view us as equals, they're probably not thinking about our real emotions and thinking more so about like, oh, how does he feel about this movement, or how does he feel about this lynching? They might tap into the stuff that's in the media, not so much like, oh, he might have lost his job, or his kid's not doing well, or they might not get into what really is affecting us personally and get into what's affecting us as a Black community.
Yeah.
So I do agree with what you said. We're held to a standard where we can't really express ourselves, and no one's really asking us about how we're feeling. So we don't just come out and say, "Hey, this, by the way."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know people in the older generation where, like, if you try to explain to them a situation or something, you just try to be open.
Yeah.
So I feel like as a younger generation, we're pretty open about mental health, and like we're able to like say like, "Hey, I suffer from anxiety. I suffer from depression. I suffer from whatever." But I've seen the older generation, and they'll go like, say, "Wait, what is that? Toughen up." You know what I mean? Like, come on now, like, we get over it. Oh well, you know what I mean? And it's just like, just move on, get up, suck it up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's that just goes to like the not it's not all the older generations, but from what I've seen, within our community, that's how it's sometimes how it's handled. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like that's just passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm sure their parents were teaching them certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of more or less probably the same thing. And, for myself being a first generation in this country, you see the difference in like parenting styles.
Yeah.
Like compared to like the homeland.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I definitely hear that. And like I said, that all falls into like our emotions and just us being able to characterize, like ourselves and how we feel. So it's like, if I can't even put like my feelings in a category to express to you, like, I'm really upset because my and I'm just listening. Say from a young age, like, oh, my guinea pig died.
Yeah.
That really hurts me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like we're gonna push like forward. Like, okay, I'll get you a new one. Like,
yeah.
Don't cry about it. Like,
was
it's just
mental health acknowledged for you guys as children into like your young adulthood? Like, was anxiety or depression or like any of those emotions?
I can't say I really went through that. I did suffer from anxiety. I feel like everybody suffers from anxiety. That's one of the most common mental health issues there is.
Yeah.
Everybody suffers from that to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it wasn't really talked about. I don't know, maybe like, you know what I mean? It wasn't really something that was really like broadcasted and was like, yo, you should, it's kind of something you just pick up over time, and I feel like, I there's like, for my future kids, there's stuff that, I'm going to operate differently, you know what I mean? Than how I grew up, I would say.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't broadcasted. And when it comes to like anxiety, like you said, that's something we all struggle with, whether we identify it or not. There's always that little voice in the back of your head speaking to you, saying negative, like little negative things,
or even some self doubt.
Whether it's self doubt, whether it's depression to an extent, or whatever the case is, it's something negative in the back of your head that's being like broadcasted, saying like you might hear a bang, it could be a firework because the 4th of July is approaching, and then you might think like, oh man, it was a gunshot. I hope no one I know got shot.
Yeah.
Something similar. It's like just like the littlest things, and we don't really identify it as like, oh, that's just my anxiety, because once again, it's not broadcasted to us.
Yeah.
So we might look at it as like, oh, whatever, I'll just brush that off because just another day in the hood, or whatever the case is. Even though, like I said, it could just be fireworks or whatever the case is.
Yo, but let me ask you this though, like, bringing it back to like our communities, for myself, I'll speak on this. I feel like to some degree I have a level of PTSD with, having negative police interactions. You know what I mean? And I feel like just that's like a common thing that a lot of people don't talk about. And Black and brown people don't talk about, maybe, because I get nervous when a lot of people get nervous when they have a police officer around them. But I feel like as people of color, we get maybe a little extra nervous. We have a little extra nerves on our side. You know what I mean? Because maybe we don't have the best interactions with them. You know what I mean? And I feel like when I see a police car drive past me, I get nervous. My hands start sweating. You know what I mean? I turn down my music. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah. When it comes to that, that just falls into a category known as the black tax.
Okay. So what is the black tax? Explain it to me.
I can't quote who made that up, unfortunately, but I know I heard this term before, and like I said, it's called the black tax, and it's basically certain things in life that black people have to go through and pay for that white people do not, or other races, I should say, do not.
So driving while black, driving while brown.
Definitely,
someone,
you don't pass a cop. You don't pass a cop. If you're a black or brown driving, they're doing 50 and it's a 55, you drive right in the lower area.
And that's all that anxiety and that just comes from that one interaction. And like I said, there's certain ethnicities that don't have to, that might get pulled over or might see a cop in their review and they won't be worried. Yeah. They might be like, oh, what's this about, officer? Or even if they don't get pulled over, they see it, they'll just be like, I'm just going to keep going because I have no reason to get pulled over.
Yeah.
Where I know I have no reason, for me as a black man, I know I have no reason to get pulled over. But
for the color of your skin,
I still might get pulled over.
Yeah.
And it just like kind of, I think that's why that anxiety starts to rise just from passing an officer that's sitting on the side of the road scanning, his radar. He might notice me and my skin and be like, oh, let's see what he might have something on him. I'm going to pull him over just to search his car.
But it's even more unfortunate because I feel like at the same exact time, I feel like young black and brown boys are raised that way. They're raised, oh, when you see a cop, know this and expect that this could potentially happen to you. I know so many females that raise their sons like, I'm going to raise my son to know that the cops are here in the world and they could hurt them. And that to me is unfortunate because the cops are here to support us. They're supposed to be help, you know what I mean? Not to harm us. So I think that's even more unfortunate. And then we're conditioned that way by our parents. And then here we are.
And what effect does that have on you as a child?
It's very traumatic. It's very traumatic.
What effect is you go like, oh, well, I'm taught that the police are to protect and serve, but my mom was telling me, there's a possibility that this officer will be rough with me, and I got to talk to him a certain way, and I can't keep my hands in my pockets, and I got to say this, and this a certain way, or I could get thrown on the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's traumatic for a child. You know what I mean? That really shapes, I feel like, your mindset towards the police as you get older. You know what I mean? And you already have, working with kids, I've seen kids 8, 9, 10 years old already talking about, like, fuck the police.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just their mindset, and it's the environment that they're around all the time.
That's something, like I said, once again, I'd say that falls into the black text, where we can't look at the police as something we can be comfortable with. We have to look at it as something that we have to say.
It's not like a safety resource.
Yeah, like we don't know how this will end,
kind
of thing. If they're interacting with us,
we
know that we have to tread lightly and walk on eggshells. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it sucks, but it definitely, like I said, just that one interaction heightens our anxiety to maximum in that moment. And I feel like when it comes to mental health, like I said, that's just one thing out of many.
Yeah.
It's like when it comes to the black community, like that you got police interaction mixed with bills.
Yeah.
Mixed with relationship issues.
Yeah.
Mixed with family issues.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that I'm in a impoverished neighborhood. You know that
maybe my job don't pay good.
Yeah, like like I go to the
you
bank.
got so many other things going on.
Exactly. Like I go to the bank to try to get a loan. I can't get that. It's just so many variables that just take into this.
And it weighs on your mind.
But then as soon as I have one little breakdown, I'm weak.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like and it could be I could have the breakdown with my girl, but she's looking at me as such a provider and such a man that I should know better than to act this way. When it's like I'm not acting anyway.
Yeah.
I am literally expressing myself.
Yeah.
And it's almost like an expectation of men. You know what I mean? It's like, and then that goes back to the thing after. You know what I mean? It's like an expectation of men. It's like you got to be tough. That hyper masculinity.
And it's I think it's also, again, it goes back to the way you're raised, because so many men and boys are raised to be men to take care of. There's unfortunately some of them take care of their mom. They're the only male masculine energy in the house, unfortunately. And then there's other times where, unfortunately, there still is boys and girls and females and males that are treated differently. They're raised differently. Like, you can have a daughter and you're going to be so much more coddling and protective over her, rather your son, because you're going to feel like he's got this. When in reality, they're all kids and they need the same equal amount of love and energy. But it's like you're created and now you're taught to be masculine energy. You're taught to be that strength in the family, and then your emotions are now downplayed, and then you still have to go out in the world and engage with people. Like, how does that affect your manhood? How does that affect your masculine energy? Like,
just imagine with everything you just said. Like I said, once again, take into account with the variables I named.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like it overexceeds that capacity. Like, it's like, all right, now I'm about to lose it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything serious going on, but it's so many different things going on, and it's normal.
Yeah.
It's very normal for anybody to have that break. I had a stressful day at work. I got to come home and vent.
Yeah.
I had a stressful day just off, and then I had this person cut me off on the highway. This person held up the line at the supermarket.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever normal interactions throughout your day that happens that stress you out.
Yeah.
You should be able to come home and talk about it.
Yeah. But I think as a people, we need to find better coping mechanisms as well. It's easy to pick up a bottle, start drinking. It's easy to like grab some weed. It's easy to grab whatever other narcotics. Whatever.
Right.
If we could like kind of get away from those things and find coping skills. Like, I'm gonna go out and put the basketball in the hoop. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna go for a run.
Talking also is very difficult sometimes.
Yeah, but for some people, like venting, that's like then being able to vent and get that emotion out is good for a lot of people, because like once you let somebody know how you're feeling, I feel like you feel that weight off your chest. Like, you physically might feel better for some people.
But are men vocal? Are men? And that's
not
the
all
other.
Men.
That's
of course
the
not.
other.
We know that
division.
all men ain't vocal.
Some men are not vocal. Some men don't want to talk about it. Some men still have ingrained in
they
their
don't
head.
Want to be portrayed as weak.
Exactly. I'm gonna handle on my own.
Right.
Like.
No, definitely, and they need to. That's one thing that I don't let anybody take shit away from me.
Yeah.
And if I was to ever say to a woman or anybody in this world that, hey, I'm feeling this way, if I feel like I'm comfortable enough to talk with you about this,
Yeah.
and you want to judge me about it, then obviously you're not the person I should have around me.
Yeah.
That's just how I personally look at it.
Okay.
If somebody was like, oh, you're a provider, you're this and that, you're not supposed to feel this way or act this way.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can feel how you want, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this regardless because I know it's healthy for my mental.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to keep stuff bottled up. I did that for too long. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to do this. I know I'm at a point in my life where I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
Venting is one of them, Of course, like you said, Josh, healthy coping skills is definitely a plus. Like, I love the gym. Working out is one. Art, writing, reading, whatever, taking a walk, taking a jog, listening to music, whatever your coping skills or mechanisms can be, use them. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't talk to that person or somebody, or you don't have nobody to go that you feel safe enough to talk with without being judged or whatever the case may be, then utilize a different coping skills.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we need to do in positive coping skills, Like you said, we can't just be like, oh, I'm so stressed. Let me grab this bottle. Let me roll this blunt, or worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can't. That's something that we need to be mindful of if we're using a different substance or drinking, what are we doing it for? Are we doing it because we're stressed? Because if that's the case, then I agree. That's something that we need to come to terms with. That's not going to help our mental. That's not going to help us as a person.
Yeah.
We need to learn something that's going to benefit our mental.
Yeah.
For sure.
And help us move forward.
Okay.
I feel like, working with kids like I do, I feel like, kids are the future. And there's a lot of kids like around here in this generation that's coming up that like are like highly aggressive. You know what I mean? They have like, they're always trying to fight, had like anger problems, a lot of them that I've seen, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's like you were saying, keeping up that bottled up, pent up aggression, you know what I mean? And not knowing how to really vent to somebody and channel that. And I feel like, you should never like shy away from your anger.
Yeah.
But like capture it and channel it into something more positive. You know what I mean? Because like, who I feel like someone who really did that good was like Malcolm X, for example. This is just a very vague historical figure I'm gonna use. Like he was an angry black man, right? But he used that and channeled that into his swift speeches and like his the way he moved crowds just by his words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like there's a lot of young kids walking around because they don't know they've had emotional childhood trauma passed on to them from their parents, and maybe they don't know how they can't maybe their parents was the one that maybe was doing too much at home, you know what I mean, just about drama at home all the time and shit like that, and they just don't want to be around it all the time, and it's like they got nobody to talk to. They ain't gonna tell their homies about it. They ain't gonna, you know what I mean, you ain't gonna tell your homies, oh, my mom be fighting with my dad, or my dad is doing this, or my cousin is always selling drugs out my crib, or whatever the case may be. You don't know. It could be anything. But a lot of kids don't. I feel like nowadays they don't have these coping mechanisms.
Right, and Malcolm X is definitely a really good example when it comes to taking a negative situation and turning it into a positive.
Yeah.
He had it bad. We're not going to go into details about Malcolm's life.
Yeah.
But he was really down. You know what I'm saying? He was in prison. He was able to reform, he was able to find a religion and stick with it, and then he took that and used it to benefit him. So that's dope. And I feel like that's something we can all do, but it's all about finding your coping mechanisms. Like I said, he found reading.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He took that and like read where it benefited his mental, and then he applied it. The information he took and he applied it. Yeah. And he found the nation. He found himself. Found his voice, and he became like one of the biggest influencers in the Black History movement, civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's something we can literally all do. We just have to, once again, we got to find our coping mechanisms, find our skills, apply them, and find ourselves.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Black community, I think that it's deeper than just what's not being taught to us. Like I said, there's so like you can find depression, anxiety, and like whenever we hear about these mental illnesses, it's in like maybe some health class or maybe biology, who knows, something, and they're just like, oh, back in 1920, 1917, there was there was cases of people that served the war and came back and they had shell shock, which later turned into PTSD.
Yeah.
And it's like, that why is it that we're being taught this as if something that, oh, I won't get PTSD unless I go into battle.
Yeah.
Or I won't get anxiety unless I'm being abused or being neglected. I gotta watch some like really intense stuff to catch this. You know what I mean?
But there's a bunch of kids in the hood who got PTSD. You don't even realize it from maybe seeing their friend get shot.
Yeah.
Don't even realize it. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Exactly.
That shit sticks with you forever.
They have nightmares.
You know what I mean? There's a warfare on the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the warfare over in wherever parts of the country. Parts of the world. You know what I mean? But there's wars going on right here in the streets of America. You know what I mean?
And I think that you guys make really good points. But I just want to draw on the idea that from what you guys are saying, that there's so much drama that comes into this community from such a young age. You're taught that. And I think you pressed on like a statement that kind of like hit me. And I'm just like, oh. Because I think it's the idea that Malcolm X was an angry black man. And I think that I really don't feel like he was. I think he was a very passionate black man that was exhausted and tired of dealing with the system over and over again, that no matter if he showed it with love or with hate, it didn't matter. He still got the same response. So he chose to react in a way that he best felt like, if I'm violent or non-violent, you're still going to hate me. You're still going to abuse me. So why not match you with the same energy you matched me? And I think that so many times, and especially in this community, we lose sight of the idea that unfortunately within ourselves, we kind of label ourselves as being angry or crazy or all these extra terms. But in reality, I feel like it's the system that kind of sets us up like this. It kind of lays it out flat, like, okay, we're only going to have one parent in your household, and that one parent's going to be dependent on the system. No, we're not going to have your father in the household because that's not going to help your mom out. And then it comes down to your mom being upset and angry, or vice versa, your dad, one of your parents being upset. But and now right there is the division amongst the household. So then you see your friends, and it's all this that builds up over time. You go to school with friends that are having the same exact parental issues and parent issues that either you're having or other people are having. So it's so much tension that's built that for black men, it's hard to and brown men to even navigate a system where you're not taught from the beginning how to navigate it. A lot of people don't even have fathers in their household, so how are we taught how to deal with mental health? How are we taught how to handle it? And then it's very unfortunate because I feel like this kind of transitions into women, I feel like then there goes the cycle, a continuous cycle of women and men abusing each other, because it's, okay, now the women aren't taught the same, they're just like the men, so to speak, like they're not taught the same exact skills as the men, but the men see that their mother's there and she's working hard, and some hate grows for their mom because they don't understand why their dad left, or hate grows for whatever situation they have, and then it creates toxic relationships for the men and the female. Now, here is the onset of also. That's
the thing, like, within our community, we do have, not, I feel like that's like a bad narrative. I feel like that there's like, oh, you must, a lot of people in my community don't have fathers. If our fathers ain't around, there are a lot of black fathers. I'm looking at a black father right here. You know what I mean? A strong black father that is in his children's life. You know what I mean? Like, let's not get that narrative like saying that's negative. But there are a lot of people out here who don't take care of the kids, unfortunately, and not even realizing that that really takes a toll on your kids once they grow up. You know what I mean? It's like, if you didn't have a good relationship with your mother, or you didn't have a good relationship with your father, that takes a toll on you in the end. And you know what I mean? And like, once you get older, maybe when you're younger, you don't realize it, but then like, once you get older, you kind of look back on situations and you're just like, dang, this happened. Yeah. And like this happened, this played out this way. And you pick shit up, you know what I mean? And that's when resentment starts to build. You're just like, yo, my dad could have been here for this, or my mom could have been here for this, and they weren't.
There's a lot of situations that can turn you cold.
Yeah, exactly.
It can turn you cold, and you can take those experiences. You can either acknowledge it, learn from it, and grow as a person, or you could take that and let it fester and then let it build into some type of hatred. Yeah.
But that's the unfortunate part, because so many people aren't taught how to heal. So many people don't support therapy. So many people don't support.
Just in general, too.
And that's what I'm getting to, because like you said before, Josh, you have people, youth growing up in this community, in these communities, where they see their friends get shot, they see strangers get shot. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They see their neighbors that they might know or might not know get shot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's the people that around them that are getting killed, or just this trauma that's in the communities that's instilled in them.
Yeah.
Because they're just living it.
Exactly.
And then you brought up a really good point, Sam, with the familial aspect.
Yeah.
Of like you said, with the black fathers not being present.
Yeah.
And I know. Thank you for clarifying, Josh.
Of course,
there's a lot of good fathers.
Of course. Shout out to all the black and brown fathers out there doing their thing.
A lot of
brown mothers.
A lot of good fathers. A lot of good black fathers, black and brown fathers out here. I know you wasn't just targeting that every black and brown person doesn't have that.
And I don't even feel like it's our fault. I feel like it's the way the system sets it up. You know what I mean? I feel like they give more money to mothers who don't have the father in the picture, and that's very unfortunate. But that's how
it's like an incentive. Almost.
Yes,
like here's a reason to not get back
in your house,
with you,
and they search and they look through all your things to see if there is another person present, and it's so unfortunate because instead of helping out a system in general, you want to break it apart.
Yeah, but that's also a really good point.
Yeah.
There's so many things you can fish on when it comes to that. You have black fathers leaving. You know what I'm saying? You have black fathers that aren't man enough to raise their own children, but they didn't have that man in their life to teach them. They didn't have that father figure to show them how to do it. So now
it's almost like when J. Cole said he's like now I'm stuck with trying to set examples that were never set for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I always think about. How am I supposed to raise a child and teach them the rights and wrongs of life when I was never taught none of that? I had to learn that shit on my own.
Exactly.
What if my dad wasn't around and maybe I never got taught how to learn how to dribble a basketball, but I learned. You know what I mean? My dad never taught me how to shave, but I learned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you grow up as maybe a young dude, not having your father present, and you're just like, yo, I learned these things on my own. My mom can't teach me how to dribble basketball. Unless I'm not saying women can't ball, but I'm saying, maybe my mom isn't athletically inclined. You know what I mean? My mom can't teach me how to shave my beard or whatever. Yeah. My mom can't teach me things. Now women can raise men, but you really need a man, I feel like, to instill the values that you should be carrying through life as a man. If you see what I'm saying.
Right. No, I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really crucial in the black community. And you look at the men out here that do have that mother and father figure, and you sometimes can notice that difference where it's like, okay, you have a structure that comes with you.
Yeah.
You have some type of discipline.
Yeah.
Where some don't, and it's once again not their fault because they didn't have that guidance, that structure, that discipline. A lot of times if you just have a mother and you're just a single mother, she's out working, she doesn't have time to teach you these things.
Yeah.
Not alone that as a woman, there's some things you can't teach to a man, unfortunately. Yeah. But with that being said, even the most standard things like respect, how to treat a woman, how to raise a family, that's firsthand stuff you see. How to raise a family as a man, and if you don't have that there, you won't know if now I have a baby on the way, I'm shaking in my boots because I didn't have that, and I'm supposed to do this. Yeah, that's too much pressure. Yeah, and then now you have a lot of men out here that can't raise their kids, not because they can't, but because they don't know how. Yeah, they didn't have those resources.
I definitely feel like you need both a male and female energy to raise a child, because two moms and two dads can definitely raise a child just as good as the next. I just think that all parents need to be able to give the child the foundation that is needed so that they understand how to encounter any person in the world, whether it be male or female. And I think that it's just very important to have, it's okay. I just think it's very important to have both energies in the household, because I don't feel like necessarily we need a man. I mean, oh man, I don't feel like you need both. You don't need a mother and a father in the house to raise a kid. I'm sorry. I do understand energy, and I feel like masculine energy brings a lot and weighs in on a young boy's life and a young female's life. At the same exact time, I think with resources and education and knowledge, you can raise whomever you want to raise. You know what I mean? Also, that's like saying a black mom can't raise a white kid or an Asian kid or vice versa. You know what I mean?
It's
a
not
white
the,
mom
it's
can't
not
raise
the same.
It's
not. I will contradict. I will go against that.
Detest.
I won't contradict, but I will go. I will, yes.
Okay.
Because I think you do need that male and female structure, or you need that two parent structure. I feel like.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say male and female, but I think that you need that too. I think you need to be in a dual parent household because you need someone to teach you this value and this value.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to have respect.
Yeah.
But as a man, I need to learn how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
Or
And I think there's so many times where there's only men and then there's only females that still provide their child with the necessary resources to engage in life. I think it's important to have two parents. I think that's very important. Even though a single mother and a single father can definitely do it, I just think it's important to kind of have like a team. I feel like it takes a community to raise a child.
I think it's easier said than done.
I feel like this also is kind of sort of tying into like gender roles.
Yeah,
sort of.
It is. It definitely is.
Yeah,
but it unfortunately it weighs in on
the conversation
on the black and brown mental because it's all about conducting ourselves in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to stray on
and
this
like
topic,
what's socially acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I do think that it's way too common than what it needs to be, and it's not our fault because it falls into systemic racism and oppression.
Yeah.
That we're even like this,
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just you can dive so deep into this topic where just the systemic bullshit alone.
Yeah. Well, I think we can say that human nature doesn't change within a few generations.
Yeah.
And it's going to take. We could be the change maybe for the next generation for our future kids where mental health is okay to talk about and you can have an open dialogue with your kids about it. You know what I mean?
Especially because it's so common now, especially among children, A lot more children nowadays. They're probably not just experiencing it. We're probably just acknowledging it, that young children are experiencing mental health at the same exact time,
Mm-hmm. I feel like today in 2020 it's a lot more, like I said, I don't know if it's talked about today as a youth. I feel like it should be.
Yeah.
Because I feel like today so much is more socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Where like they will allow you to be pick at this point you can basically pick your gender at a young age.
Yeah.
I feel like from the way that they're setting it up, and you can I feel like there's so much more that they're acknowledging. Like I said, once again, like with gender roles, and I think they're starting to acknowledge mental health more, but it doesn't help the position we're in now currently. But it might help the future. You never know.
As far as, let's say they are deciding to acknowledge mental health at a young age. Yeah.
And that now a young man or young woman can acknowledge, like, oh, shoot, I've been feeling that way too because such and such. And they can identify if they have anxiety. Or opposed to just like a doctor saying, oh, you have ADHD, we're going to put you on this pill.
Yeah.
Or you have mild depression, we're going to put you on this pill. And now you're hopped up on pills,
Yeah.
And most of the time, your kids don't even need the pills your kids don't need to be on that.
It's all like a cash cow, It's
exactly.
all like we're all doing this for financial.
What's that $1 billion industry, right?
Yeah,
it's $1 billion
industry every year. Yeah. But as far as mental health is concerned, there's so much variables. Imagine everything we just talked about mixed with the genetic trauma.
Yeah.
With the genetic trauma that's encoded in our DNA.
Exactly, because drug use is. I feel like that. Oh, of course, if the woman does drugs, but also if the male does drugs, that also has an influence on your child. Or if there's any traumatic experiences, or if the mother is like emotionally distraught during the pregnancy, that all has an effect on the baby. And now they're being created with all this negative and all this trauma. So now. That's on the outside, and then they come to the world, and there's more trauma,
Like those generational curses.
Yeah.
Almost. Basically, that's what it's a generational.
And you don't want to follow, obviously, like if your dad is an alcoholic, your mom suffers alcoholism or whatever, right? Or uses drugs. You don't, obviously, as the child, you don't want to fall back into that. But sometimes it's easy to, if that's your environment all the time, and it almost becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Basically.
But sometimes I feel like it's also it's genetic. Like sometimes it's not, through blood, like, oh yeah, you're gonna be an alcoholic too, but more so like not maybe even, I don't know, not like learned behavior, but more so like behavior born into. No, it's not necessarily all the time. I'm not going to say if your dad's alcoholic, you're absolutely going to be alcoholic. Not necessarily saying that, but there are cases where like there's lineages of people who are alcoholics. You know,
it definitely like, and that's why I think that's why you see a lot like we have to break those curses.
Yeah,
because it is. It like I said, it becomes encoded in your DNA. It becomes encoded in your DNA where it's like, okay, my grandfather was alcoholic.
Yeah.
My father was alcoholic. And here I am facing alcoholism, and I might not even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I might just say like, "Oh, I like to party. I like to party here and there." It's at this point, it's so like normalized.
Yeah.
You know, like like for example, you got Tory Lanez on when he did his quarantine live radio.
Yeah.
Every 2 seconds, oh, it's shot o'clock. You know.
Yeah.
And people, I know there's what was his record at that point before 6ix9ine broke it?
It was like 300,000.
It was. I think it was like 400,000 or 500,000 something.
I think it was like 500,000 maybe.
If you're telling 500,000 people to take a shot with you,
that's so crazy.
How many of them are taking that shot with you?
A
You know
lot
what I'm saying?
of them are.
How many of those people that are taking that shot that already have alcoholism and don't even acknowledge it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yo, like it's and I'm not even saying like Tory Lanez is doing us. You know, he's not doing anything that's out of the norm. You know, that's unfortunately something that's been made.
Part of the lifestyle.
Yeah, it's been
industry.
It's been normalized. It's been made like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's just like, what can you do at this point? So if I know that generations down the line, I have alcoholism in my family, and here I am upholding that alcoholism.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, it's not unknown. You know, all my friends are doing it. All the celebrities are doing it. It's advertised. Here, it's advertised there. It's in the music videos, you know. It's in everything that I watch, you know. Then it's like, all right, I'm only doing what's normal, what's taught to me. Almost especially if you have parents that were alcoholics. And, not all, I feel like some have bad alcoholic stories where others are just like, oh, my mom never abused me or my dad never abused me or anything. They didn't do anything, like violent in front of me, but every time I seen them, they had a cup in their hand. You know what I mean? They had a bottle in their hand.
And that's triggering too, because you don't know what your parents are going to do. I think that there's no level of, we don't know what's more traumatizing for someone else versus somebody else. I think that you holding a cup of liquor could be traumatizing for me, but nobody knows the backstory behind it. You know what I mean? It could have been like that cup of liquor got dropped on me and I was drowned or something like that effect. So it doesn't have to be abuse, which isn't more of an extreme. It could be just that cup of liquor and then knowing that your mom's going to tumble down the steps or your dad's going to go and try and do something crazy. You know what I mean? Someone's gonna, that can be just as traumatic.
Yeah,
definitely.
I feel like generational curses, and don't necessarily have to just be like addictions too. Because like unfortunately, just like I do suffer from addictions.
Yeah.
But I feel like generational curses could be like, maybe parenting styles or something like that. That maybe there's different types of like parent to child patterns when it comes to parenting. So like you might have there's like dismissive parents who like if like you do something wrong, all they do is yell at you, and then they tell you go to your room, yell at you, and then they just ignore you for the rest of the night because they're pissed off at you, and then subconsciously you don't realize that now you're going to carry that into your future relationships once you become from that childhood into adulthood. You're going to carry that, and then that's how you manage stress in your future relationships, whether it be friendships, intimate partners, whatever it is. You're going to be like, oh well, I learned that when you get into an argument or a fight, you yell and then you
walk away.
Retreat and then you ignore them. So that's what I learned because that's how my mom maybe yelled at my dad, or my mom yelled at me, or my dad yelled at my sister, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Right.
You learn these behaviors, and maybe in it you're just like, wow, that's ridiculous. Like why would my mom treat me like that? Why would my dad treat me like that? Whatever. And then, like I said, subconsciously you go into the future, and then now you realize, oh damn, now I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now I'm doing it to my friends. Now I'm doing it to my intimate partner. You know what I mean? And like stuff like that is just like it sticks with you.
It's damaging.
Very damaging. And then like or you might have like a single mother who is mad at the father still, and then she's gonna take that emotional trauma and cast it on her children. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Or
Like
vice
maybe
versa, dad.
I think that's something that's also seen a lot where you might have a father that left their family, and let's say for whatever reason, things might not have been working out, or they just moved on, or just left, whatever the case.
Yeah.
And you might have that father might had a son, and the mother might be looking at the son like, oh, you look like your father, you're mommy of your father, so subconsciously they might treat that child differently. They might treat them not as caring or nurturing because he reminds her of their father.
Yeah.
So it's like that. I feel like that's something that's seen a lot.
I think it's more so the backstory behind the emotion. It's like the mom hasn't healed from this situation. And I don't think a mother would ever look at her child like, oh, your dad.
And then that goes like,
but
she hasn't healed. So then,
she hasn't healed.
So then that means that she didn't learn from her parents, and like maybe she never learned coping mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But
so then that goes back more generations on how all of that was handled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's why I said subconsciously. They might not. They're subconscious. They don't even know. They don't.
Exactly.
They don't identify. I'm going to treat this way because you look like your father. But they might just look at them and just treat them a certain way. And, they might not say it. They might not state that, but they might just like do certain things that they let's say there's two children. There's a female and let's say there's a male. And the male, since he looks at the father, they're going to be like, oh, she gets this on her birthday, she gets that on her birthday, but it's your birthday, you get a card or whatever. You get a pat on the back, if that, type shit.
At the same exact time, I feel like everyone's experience is different. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I just feel like from a woman's perspective, it's hard, like, to be in a relationship with somebody or be in love with somebody or be led on by somebody and then for your heart to be broken. And now this is something we created together because it takes two people to make a child. So it takes two people to make that child. So I feel like if you're going to disrespect your child's mother and...
I told you, bitch.
He's done. That's it.
We don't play that shit.
We don't play that.
This is
great, man. Bitch. They ain't gonna attack our people.
So
anyway,
it takes two people to make a child. So I just feel as though if you're gonna disrespect your child's mother, you can't expect her to be all calm when she has to process those emotions, and she's not able to because now you 9 times out of 10, not 9 times out of 10 because not all fathers leave, but there's a likely chance that you've left the situation because not only are you tired of your baby mother, you're tired of the situation in general. So it's like you disrespected her. So now, how do you expect somebody to feel not hatred or anger or any type of emotion when you disrespect me and now you leave me with a child to raise by myself with no help? And I feel like that's a lot in lower socioeconomic areas. It's like
almost
that.
It's almost as if, like how I mentioned before, you have black children, black men that are raised without a father, and that animosity that grows from the children's mother towards the father, it kind of keeps that going.
I mean, there's animosity between both parents, but I think that what are the chances of the child actually being left with the mother instead of the father? You know what I mean? So if it was vice versa, and the father was left by the mother, and the father, or both mothers or both fathers were left, how would that transcend to your emotion? Like, would you not be upset if it was vice versa? And I think that's something to be mindful of and important for both parties. Like, whether you're a man getting left or a female getting left, you know what I mean? There's tensions.
I see a lot of single black fathers out there, actually. I don't know the ratio from, I don't know. I can't tell you the ratio. But the ones that I've seen, they tend to be pretty humble. I know like a lot of the single mothers I see tend to flaunt that. Like, oh, I'm a single mother. I'm doing it all on my own. Yeah. Don't you forget it. Yeah. Like, single black men kind of are like, single black fathers are kind of just like, oh, well, I'm doing something on my own, and they kind of keep it all about the children opposed to about themselves and how they feel. Once again, that could fall into the feelings. I think it's
also the pride. Like, we're doing this, we're taking care of our own stuff. Because I also feel like women, I'm not trying to be like sexist, men versus females, but I just feel like women take on more of a role. They have to do everything. They have to be more motherly. They have to take care of the house. They're expected to take care of the bills. They're expected to take care of all these responsibilities sometimes, and they're left with no help. They're left with nothing, and they're literally there by themselves.
And how do you think that weighs on a black woman's mental?
I mean, it's hard because it's like, it takes two to tango, and now I'm left with the responsibility.
You're constantly under like a high level of stress.
Exactly, and
like,
it's not to say women are stronger than men, but women are strong as hell. Like,
women go through a lot, though.
Exactly, especially black women, because we're so unwatered. Like, such a beautiful flower that is tarnished by so many people. So many people just disrespect black females. They call us animals. They call us so many names, and it's like black and brown females, and it's like, we are holding it all together. And it's even more fortunate because there's black men that break down black females. It comes from it comes from everywhere, especially when black women and brown women take so much pride in speaking for other people, especially their black men and their brown men, So it's kind of like a smack in the face consistently.
Yeah, protect our sisters.
Yeah,
protect them at all costs.
At all costs.
And but no, I hear that saying where it's like you're being targeted from all outsiders.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the point you're getting targeted from certain insiders.
Yeah.
And it's like, for what?
Yeah.
But all right, I got one more question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I got one more question for y'all. And we could kind of end it with this.
Okay.
Like I said, we think we had a pretty good talk. But we're gonna tap back into that generational trauma.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak for myself. So me as a young black man, I was, as they say, whooped.
Okay.
Can you guys concur?
My ass was beat. No.
I used to get my ass beat.
Okay, imagine how that develops in your mental when we bring up the generational trauma.
Yeah.
Down the line, our ancestors, a lot of us was whipped.
Yeah.
As slaves. How do you think, as a young black child, still finding ourselves and figuring out this world,
right?
The people that we love beating us, whipping us, and then that generational trauma and our ancestors, living through us, experiencing this once more through us, basically.
I feel like when I was getting whipped, my ass beat for whatever as a child, maybe I did do some.
You were a
things.
bad child.
Maybe I did break some things. Maybe I was a bad child in those moments. I wouldn't correlate it really to slavery. I don't think, in my opinion, just because I didn't really think of slavery in that moment. I was more or less correlating it to, damn, I just broke my mom's favorite glass something. I better put on 3 pairs of jeans because this ass was about to hurt crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really thinking.
So you kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Just like our ancestors that.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like if you just hitting your kids for no reason, that's just abuse. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be doing that. I feel like anytime I got an ass beaten, it was for a reason.
But I mean, all right. But with that being said, I know you say you wouldn't correlate it to slavery, and I'm not saying that our parents did that because we're slaves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. I mean,
but whenever usually when I feel like when a slave would get beat is because of something that they did wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong in their eyes, but wrong in the eyes of the master. Right. You know what I'm saying? So you knew you did something wrong in the eyes of your mother.
Right.
So you're gonna get beat. Right. Now I'm not saying that your mothers are wrong. It happened to me too. I'm not saying that my mom's a bad person. Once again, this is about mental health in the black community. Yeah. Imagine how that weighs on you, knowing that you're gonna get beat for something you did wrong.
Yeah. And
the generational trauma that our ancestors faced. How do you think that ties into that?
I mean, I don't think. I mean,
I agree with Franklin. That is traumatic as hell.
It's traumatic.
It is. It's like, just like you said, like, they were taught to whip slaves to control them, to keep them in line, because they got in trouble, because they did something wrong, because they dropped something. Think of how we're raising children, our future generation, or how our generation was raised. Like, you got the belt, you got your ass, you got a switch.
Yeah, but
like,
my thing is, like, I don't think you can, like, really correlate it. I mean, like, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to, me personally, I'm trying to find a correlation between the two.
Okay.
Like if I personally, like, if I'm at home.
Yeah.
As like a 7-year-old boy, and let's say I break this laptop right here, right, and it's my mom's laptop.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking, damn, she about to beat me like a slave. I'm thinking, damn. this is my mom's favorite laptop. That's not even, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if maybe not if you're trying to like correlate it to like maybe as I'm older.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure that out, that connection.
I think for me, it's more so like, does people say, okay, getting now the pain, okay, you broke the laptop, now getting the pain of an ass whooping, does that help you make better decisions? Does that create an idea in your head that I'm not going to do this anymore? Or you're probably going to do something else that's similar and, you know, similar as fucked up and you're just going to happen to do it, but you're not going to know. Like sometimes you just play around. Young boys and girls, they play around, they break stuff accidentally. But I think it comes from the concept that now we're correlating this pain with let me not do this. And I think that's the correlation, the same as that correlation from slavery times where it's like, oh, you ran, so now I'm going to cause you pain so you know better than running. And I think that they both stem from the idea that we, as in generations, have not healed. We do not know how to heal. And it's ass whoopings are a lot more prevalent in the black and brown communities, but white communities, they do not hit their child. Their children hit them. And you're sitting there looking at them like, whoa, lady, you just let your child smack you? Oh, no. So I think
couldn't
that...
be me. Lord knows, couldn't be me.
Right there is such a... It's so like... It's like a picture. Like, they didn't beat their white kids back in the day. And I think that we still carry that trauma. Like, this... Even with protests, even with everything going on with all the murdering, even the lynchings, you know what I mean? That is the idea that... Now, a lot of us are experiencing mental health currently because of you don't realize, like, oh my God, why am I scared? You slow down when the cops come, right? You got that from somewhere. Something traumatic you're triggered now. There's something triggering you to think that I can't do this now because of what is going to occur. So I just feel as though that
it's as a black person, I drive past an officer.
Yeah.
I'm scared because a white man in a uniform is going to come and potentially harass me in some type of way, shape, or form. Was it
that cop? Was it that cop car? It wasn't, but you're triggered because you see this object that now represents harm, fear. Now let me stay away. That's like the X zone. Don't come in because now this represents that for you. So same applies to you. Like
I just know that. Think about it. I think it's all generational. Yeah. So our grandparents might have been targeted by the KKK.
Yeah.
It was white men in suits. With some police. Well, shoot, a lot of police officers were.
A lot of police officers.
They were in slave patrol. You know they were in slave patrol. So
originally, yes, they were slave patrol. Yeah. But I'm talking about like the KKK. You know, I'm not gonna. You know, it stems from slave patrol. Then slavery ended. Now you have the KKK.
Yeah.
Okay. Those KKK, they were officers. They were judges. They were. Lawyers.
Still are.
Yeah, that's
members of Congress.
Exactly. Yeah. They were these officials in these positions, and then but basically along the lines of like, you had these officials. It went from slave patrol to KKK, and then they had to get more like covert.
Yeah.
So it's like now they're still these people, but they're not. Like you could have a cop just do it with with the KKK for fun. You're like, oh, I don't have my Klans members too. I don't have my uniform, but I'm still gonna lynch this Negro with you.
Yeah.
And we're still gonna get this done.
Yeah.
Where like it got certain laws got passed and they had to kind of lower that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it's like they have
something. They had to transform their racism.
Yeah, they have now they have some type of consequences.
Yeah.
And then it all falls on like I said, a white man in a suit.
Yeah.
And when we look at these videos of police brutality, a lot of the time, and I'm not saying there's a lot of black officers, a lot of Spanish officers, a lot of Asian officers, there's a lot of officers of all ethnicities. I'm talking about the U.S. and of all ethnicities, you can find an officer. But like when I get pulled over, I'm assuming it's a white officer. You know what I'm saying?
I always assume it's a white male.
And
officer.
I think that's that stigma that falls onto like, all right, that it's generational stuff. It's like, all right, these white men in suits are going to come and they're going to do whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's that fear that's behind the anxiety. And I think that and going back to, like I said, with the being beat, it's all conditioning.
Yeah.
So you have slave masters controlling their slaves, conditioning them to, all right, you do something wrong, you're going to get beat.
Like cattle.
Even if you don't do anything wrong. Whatever step out of line in any way, out of my line, you're going to get beat. So now it's with the parents.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, I'm not saying that the parents are following after the slave masters.
I see what you're saying now. You're saying it's the concept of it. Just the general concept of it. What the concept was passed down from generation to generation, where slave master whipped the slaves took that aggression and whipped their kids when they did something bad, and that's ultimately passed down. Yeah. So now we get us getting our ass beat with a belt or whatever.
Yeah. And even the idea of like young girls thinking that their skin complexion is black and brown girls thinking that their skin complexion or their hair texture or their image isn't enough. Why? Because we've been taught for so long that the European features are the way to go, when in reality, they've been appropriating our features and cultures for years.
Exactly. You look back at those old European and early 1900 photos, you got people putting on these weird stuff under the dress to make their butts look bigger.
Yeah.
It's like you don't
or even the hair
no ass,
up.
Mom.
Even the hair up to look whatever it looks like. It's creating value that a lot of Caucasians do not have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're compensating for something that you don't have, and you can't admit that this black woman is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I want that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna appropriate that in my own terms. I think we mentioned it like a couple weeks ago. You said something about like now they're appropriating certain dreadlocks or something and calling it something else or something like that.
Yeah, they're changing. But that's the other thing. They're changing different techniques and different like styles. They call bump knots or bantu knots.
Bantu knots. That's what it was.
What is a bump knot? You know what I mean?
Damn well what that is.
Or even locks or like
even like the bonnets and like the do-rags and like this just the protective hairstyle. They took that, changed the name to something.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not even like it. It's just a mess. Like you got certain ethnicities taking black culture and making it their own. Like just appreciate
and appropriating it and
just
then
appreciate
renaming it.
Yeah, like don't gentrify our do rags and bonnets. Like just say hey,
bantu knots.
Just say hey, this is they got something right here. They're protecting their hair, and honestly, we want to protect their hair too. So instead of me changing the name and trying to change the culture, making it seem like it's something brand new. This has been going on. This is it. This is normal to us.
Yeah.
Make it normal for you. Don't sit there and try to appropriate it, like you said. Don't change it.
Yeah, but I think that also feeds into mental health, what Franklin said before, because it's not only the slave patrol or our modern day police, which is triggering, it's the abuse and the beatings that are triggering, and now it's our culture and what we wear and how we present ourselves, which is being taken away from us, which is triggering. So it's all these things, and then how to deal with relationships, because so many people are not accustomed to having two parents in a house or even knowing what a healthy relationship is, because families were taken apart so long ago. They were destroyed and sold and everything. So now that's triggering, and it's like there's so much mental health that we're carrying the pain from our ancestors, and it's like our job to heal it, and it's our job to release it so that we can educate the next generation, but also let them know that this is what they went through, but you're not going to go through this. You're not going to have to repeat the same exact cycle. This is where the cycle ends. That's
what needs to happen.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's so much to it.
Yeah.
And honestly, we might have to do a part 2.
Yeah,
we might have to do a part 2 for this.
That's a fact. We had some good dialogue. Man, I just want to let you know, man. I appreciate y'all. You got some very enlightened individuals.
I appreciate you, sir.
And I always appreciate the conversations that we have.
Yes. I think that we might have to do a part 2 for this, because I think we're at our limit for today. We're gonna have to end this, but I mean, this is definitely something to consider and to pick up at another time, because we can keep on going with this. There's so much more to touch on. I feel like we just hit the surface.
And we have so many different perspectives of the same exact situation, so it's good to hear other people's minds on the topic. So.
Exactly. All right.
Part 2.
Part 2 to be determined.
Can't promise it's coming next video.
Right.
It might come next video. We might touch something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But part 2 is definitely coming at some point. We got a lot to touch on. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for watching. You guys have been great. We're going to continue to put out content. We're going to continue to do what we got to do. I know the setup is a little different from the last video, but we're still figuring it out ourselves. This is only our second podcast, So, like I said, we're going to continue to bring you content. We're going to continue to improve. We're going to continue to inform you guys. And if you have any information for us, leave it in our comments. You can follow our social media. We're going to link everything in the video. We're going to link our personal Instagrams around somewhere in this vicinity.
And it's somewhere in here.
And
y'all gonna see it.
Yeah. And at the end of the video, we're going to put our channels, Instagram and Facebooks and other social media. So, like I said, continue to stay tuned. Please subscribe. Please support.
Yeah, follow us.
We thank you. And we'll see you next time.
Vibes.